All right. Hello, everybody. Hopefully, my settings are good. I want to welcome you to the 1% Tribe tonight. Tonight, I wanted to get back on the steel, the stick. Let me get rid of that background. Done. Okay, there we go. It's a little too much for me. All right. Oh, maybe I need that for the brightness. All right, we're gonna try. We're gonna go back into that. I was laughing because as we get this all situated, I had to bring my computer in because I ran out of memory. I needed more memory on my computer. So I couldn't do it for a couple weeks. And you know how vacations go in July. So I'm happy to be back. Amy won't be with us tonight. So that'll be all right. Because she's got some other this is vacation time in the summer in Michigan. It's an awesome thing. So we always say, like, as you go, you just keep on going. But we're gonna commit my 1% improvement on this always will be to get on these and do this, especially this one. I'm pretty excited about it. So I want you guys to be, yeah, I think you'll be excited about it too. We're going to talk about, I love saying the word divine matrix, but it's something I've studied for a really long time. And I can't wait to show you or give you some of the insights that I have, on what we're going to talk about tonight. But before we get started, I wanted to give my first little few updates on nutrition stuff that is in the world that we can use for ourselves, and it's just kind of this week. Okay, so the first one is salt. Okay, so salt has been demonized for a long time for blood pressure. In fact, right now they're finding major health studies. I'm getting like a glare. Sorry, major health studies are saying that too little salt is actually causing just as much problem. What's interesting is we made salt the devil years ago, and our blood pressure, cholesterol, and all those things have gone up since that time frame. So that was always interesting. So what and like you had a lot lower population that eats salted like meat, salted fish, not the standard American diet. What I would suggest highly is talk to your doctor, obviously, if they said stay away from salt, but maybe switching salt. And here's another one on salt is the amount of people that are dehydrated. So Dr. Geimer years ago would say he grew up in Iowa, and when they would hay in the fields, they'd actually give the kids a salt tablet so they wouldn't lose as much salt. One of the reasons we're having dehydration problems, I'm guessing if it's a hot night, in high school football that first week, I'll see cramps left and right. And one of the reasons is because our electrolytes are not balanced correctly, and we're having more cramping type situation. Those are big deals. That tells you a lot about your human body right there, like cramps, those kind of things. So maybe understanding where your sodium level is, you can check it through your blood, make sure it's not low. If the blood sodium level is low, then you got problems too. So just make sure you're having adequate amounts of salt. I always recommend, like, if you're gonna, if that is a thing, then you get into sea salts, because they're not like ground down table salt where it's just salt. You want other elements with it, but of course you don't want a ton of it. But at the same time, a little bit isn't gonna, you need to stop demonizing something that didn't do anything. So that's the first one. So this other one is called taurine. It's a super good amino acid. You can find it in any kind of really good, organic meats, seafood, but it's a super amino acid that they're finding is awesome. You can get it as a supplement as well. It's taurine, taurine. taurine. And what happens with that is it is really good for heart health, muscle health, and digestion. So those are some major ones in this super. Now they're calling it a superfood right now. It's one of the amino acids that's really good, especially as we're aging. Those amino acids are very important to make sure you got building blocks for your muscles and stuff. All right. So here's an interesting one that I found today. Eye health. Eye health. Now, remember what the idea behind 1% Tribe is. We're trying to live each day, live healthier each day. So the more indicators that we end up having with throughout our day could indicate stuff that we should be aware of. So cataracts are an interesting one because they're finding that the advancement of cataracts may tell you where if your blood sugar's off, right? So diabetes, those kind of things. If you think about it, diabetes if you got major diabetic problems, you're looking at it's like diabetes is probably the scariest in my entire practice. That is so hard on the person. They suffer pretty badly because you have neuropathy of the feet, you have issues with your eyes. There's all kinds of major ones. And cataracts can be a early kind of warning sign that you're having that. So also you can have poor nutrition, or I'm sorry, it could indicate poor nutrition. So the next time your doctor says, hey, you might have some cataracts forming, maybe do something about it instead of saying, oh, well, I'm just getting older, that kind of thing. So what there's some cool stuff. So leafy greens, obviously, that's always good. All the colorful berries, so blueberries, strawberries, all those kind of things, especially in Michigan right now, dear Lord. The Michigan blueberries, oh, so good. I have a secret stash in my town. I am not giving it up. So there. All right. And then this other one, N-acetylcysteine, so NAC is a lot. There's a lot of immune system good health for it. It's a new kind of supplement that's out there, but you can actually get NAC drops for your eyes. And so that could be a huge one if you hear from your eye doc, Graham, you're starting the signs of a cataract or something. So NAC drops could be a really good one. They're on the market. They're called NAC, N-acetylcysteine. You don't really need to pull all that out of there, but NAC drops. So take a look at those. If you remember back to some of our other videos, I talked a lot about this thing called curcumin. Curcumin is an element within certain plants or certain herbs. It's super good for anti-inflammatory conditions. Turmeric, all your most of your the food herbs that you cook with for flavor has a little bit of curcumin in it. So curcumin is this anti-inflammatory powerhouse. That's why turmeric is such a good deal for a lot of people. Turmeric is probably the most high, so it gives it that. Curcumin's usually the higher yellow content. So a lot of the more yellow herbs, almost like a stainy, those are the ones that'll have a lot of curcumin in them. But they just found a cool study that it actually, I cannot wait to get back to the office for this one. It actually helps a lot with cancer prevention and treatment. So what they're finding is, like, let's say you have a friend that's going through chemotherapy for something, right? So sometimes you just have no choice to do that. The cancer, if they take, let's say, turmeric with that chemotherapy or after, your body has a better response time to it, and they're finding huge good results with that. So make sure if you have a loved one or yourself that's been through some cancer stuff, look into turmeric, ginger, a lot of these different ones that have curcumin in it. And that will be super helpful for you. So just to let you know that. All right. So now let's get started on the good stuff. So let me do this real quick. And I apologize Get my bearings here. Okay. Okay. So tonight I wanted to talk to you about the beginning of what we're going to talk about a bunch in the mental health arena. So like where, how we talk about herbs one week, a part of the body and making sure that is going and good and strong. Last time we met, it was about the hip. So if you hadn't got that one, I think I downloaded it. I'm hoping that if I didn't do it, I'll put it on this week into the Substack. If you haven't became a member of that, make sure you put in all you got to do. Hang on. Let me see if I can do this. I'm going to put it in my comments on Tribe One. Oops. There we go. So Tribe One, it's tribe1.substack.com. We'll get you a email that you will get all the recorded videos that we're doing currently, and then we can go from there. So I'll post the later ones like this week, and then we go. So if you miss one or those kind of things. So today is going to be an interesting beginning. I want to talk about some things that may mess with your brain a little bit in sense of we all know this stuff, but to put things in perspective, so I have this other author that I really, really like. His name's Greg Braden. Greg Braden is an multi author of many, many books. But he really likes going after the universal spirit source, trying to discover, the more of who we are, right? And I think he does a really good job of breaking down without getting like New Age or, in the religious realm. I think he sits perfectly, because I don't think in my mind that I've come to discover, I don't think those two are separate. I believe that we're getting closer to our understanding of how this system works, and as we go forward, I want to put a little situation into what we're talking about tonight. So I'll give you an example of a couple things. But first, I want to show you this, just to get our vibe up, because I found this and it's funny. All right, let me see if I can share my screen from here. Okay, so I'm going to do that real quick. Share screen. All right, and sorry, guys. Share screen. All right, one of my favorites. Here we go. Just to start us up. One more time. All right, I'll stop the share. But what I love that one. I'm sorry, that's me being a dork, but God, that kid made me laugh. So one of the things that we're going to talk about is our ability to connect. So what I want to do is we're going to start this there's going to be a 3-part series. Eventually you'll get to all the videos of visualization and the importance of why this visualization is done is simply because we kind of approach life in a different way than we should. We've been taught to do a certain way, and maybe there's ancient people that did it a little better than us. So I'm going to give you an example from the Greg Braden book that I had just listened to. So Dr. Braden went to an Indian tribe in New Mexico. This Indian tribe in New Mexico, he wanted a guide. So he got this this guide, the tribal guy said, hey, let me show you around. So they go to this area where it's beautiful. It's like these art, these big rock formations everywhere. And it was where they love to do their meditation and prayers and stuff. So the guy goes, hey, do you mind? I'm going to do my prayer real quick in this area, and then we can keep on with the tour. So Greg just pauses and lets the guy do it. And the guy, thanks in gratitude of all his elders and all of the people within his tribe. And then, kept going. Well, one of the things they had talked about was, I'm sorry, I'm skipping ahead too far. So Dr. Braden, before this happens, Dr. Braden gets with this guy, and they said, hey, they've been in a drought for several months. So we are going to go up while I'm going to show you the tour up where we do our prayers. I'm going to do a little prayer for rain. So then they go up, So then they go up to the area that's beautiful and that they pray. So, but when the guy started praying, he started praying in just gratitude to the people of his heritage, of the leaders of the tribe before him, but there was no major mention in his words of rain. So Greg Braden thought that was kind of strange. So as they're walking down, he's like, hey, did you pray for rain? And he goes, yeah, I did. And he goes, what do you mean? You never said anything. You said it the prayer out loud, and you never said a word about rain. He goes, oh, we don't pray for rain. I'm hoping you guys get this. We don't pray for rain. I visualized it as already happened. If we said it was for rain, then that means that God isn't perfect and he hasn't given it to us already. We're just not accepting his gift. And I thought that was absolutely fascinating in where we want to go with visualization. And weirdly in the book, he says the next day it starts downpouring. And then jokingly, it was so bad that like they were having like, stuff, flying away, floating away and stuff. And so he looked at the guy and he said, he said, hey, it really worked. Look how much rain you got. He goes, yeah, the elders have been trying to figure out how to do the other part of it where you don't ask for too much rain, right? So I always thought that was funny. But with visualization, it's such a big deal and we don't do it a lot. And a lot of times we're so taken by the life's programming, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but like life's subconscious programs that are out there in our face, forcing us to do different things, right? So really not forcing us because we chose that, right? But one of those things about visualization that I've learned over time is it's all there for you. You just have to connect with it, right? So remember back with 1% tribe, it's always the body needs no help. It just needs no interference. Your bodies are perfect. Everything's perfect, except for we have interferences that get in our way. And visualization is one of those things that allow you to step into what that would look like, if we are allowing that into you. For me personally, there's a guy named, I'm going to put him in the chat as well. I love him. He's a little, I don't know how to describe it. I want to say if you're Mike Dooley, and it's called Notes from the Universe. So Mike Dooley, Notes from the Universe is fantastic. You got to come at it a different perspective. He's not a very religious man. I tend to lean the other way. But some of these have some phenomenal situations where his series of abilities to visualize is something that we're going to go through. But his videos on how this is done. It's fantastic. So visualization allows you to connect to that higher awareness, the conscious that we all know. Okay. So some of my holistic practitioners would talk about the different auras, right? The different areas. Well, tonight we're going to talk about this is kind of beyond your body. Why it's so cool when a team wins or we're all connected at on some level. Let me give you another example from that book. So they took two. So sometimes in a lab, you can take two light photons, which are like, think of two light atoms, let's say. So they took two light photons and split them. They call them twin photons. Okay. So there's these twin photons, and they decided they were going to do an experiment. So they took the two light photons, put one 14 miles away from the other one. And at the cell, this is at the photon level, like light photon level. So they took these two, they separated them, and then they started interacting with the one of them 14 miles away. So they, hit it with vibration waves and tried to interrupt the one photon while not touching the other one, keeping that one isolated. What was crazy is because of that twin connection from the same energetics, they separated. Okay. And so those two separated. However, the one 14 miles away that wasn't getting touched felt and moved as if it was getting that vibrational energy hit from the other one. That's one way that they do that. Right. So then the next one, I want to show you this. I got a video. Let me show that real quick. This one is phenomenal. Oh man, I apologize. You take 1 week off, I swear. Okay. Where is my, okay, never mind. That's not what I want. There we go. Oh, here he is. Okay. So this one's a short 5-minute. This is a short 5-minute one. I'm going to put my live on. I'm going to share the screen. Share. And then that is not what I want you to see. Okay, here we go. So I'll shut up for a minute.
Pregnancy was going well. One day in October, the 28-year-old woman went into labor. Of course, the mother was very scared because it was too early to see her babies, only 25 weeks of pregnancy. But her husband didn't waste a minute taking her to the hospital. The nursing staff tried for 2 days to stop the contractions, but all their efforts were unsuccessful. Soon, the doctor said they had to prepare the girl for surgery. Anna's husband was at the hospital and said they had to prepare the girl for surgery, and soon their babies were born. Dylan weighed 900 grams. Nathaniel weighed only 700 grams. The doctors kept telling them not to be discouraged and to have faith in their babies, and they told them how much they loved them. While Dylan gained weight soon and was able to fully recover in just 1 month, Daniel was so small and weak, but the doctors gave him no chance. Dylan was soon released from the hospital and went home, but his little brother Daniel had already been in the emergency room for 2 months, and even though he had been in the hospital for so long, he wasn't able to breathe on his own. The chances that the baby would not survive were very high, but the family banished from themselves terrible thoughts. Despite the fact that Anna and her husband had 3 other children besides the twins, and the house is 60 kilometers away from the hospital, Anna was physically near their baby in the neonatal department almost 24 hours a day. The parents weren't even going to give up. But that was until one day the doctors dashed all hopes. I remember I came to the hospital as usual, but the nursing staff behaved a little strange. At least it seemed so to me at the time. I was asked to go to the head doctor, and when I entered the office and heard his words, I almost fainted, Anna recalled. The doctor, in a low voice, advised the parents to say goodbye to Daniel because there was no change for the better. There was a huge possibility that the boy may not survive. The grief-stricken parents were at a loss, but what else could they do? The very next day, they brought older Dylan to say goodbye to his little brother. He was put in the incubator with Daniel to be with him for the last time. At least that's what everyone thought. But no one here could have imagined what would happen a second later. Older brother Dylan turned to his dying twin and put his little arm around him. The twin brother's hug lasted about 5 minutes, but as it turned out later, that was enough time to affect little Daniel's condition. It's hard to believe, but on the same day, the baby's condition in the incubator suddenly improved. In just a few hours, the doctors transferred him from a 100% forced oxygen supply to 50%, and it gave the parents some hope. But the joy didn't last long. The next day, they got a call from the hospital saying the baby's condition had worsened again. But this time, the parents already knew what they had to do. Anna and her husband took Dylan and went to the hospital again. The older twin was placed with his brother, and the same thing happened. The baby got better again. Of course, no one could say with certainty that it was Dylan who helped his little brother, but no one excluded the fact that the baby got better from his brother's embrace. As the doctors themselves said, they did not expect the boy to recover and called this incident just a miracle. After only 5 days of such manipulations, Daniel was completely taken off the lung ventilation and he was perfectly able to breathe on his own. Soon, this closeness to his twin helped the boy to fully recover, and a few weeks later, he went home. And in October 2019, the twins celebrated their first birthday. The story was shared on television, where British scientists talked about how twins should always be together. There is no scientific evidence that this helps yet, but we can see from the example of Dylan and Daniel that the connection between the twins exists, and it is quite strong. But at the same time, scientists from all over the world just throw up their hands, saying that there's still a lot we don't know and don't understand, and there's certainly more for mankind to learn. What do you personally think? Was it just a coincidence, or is there something that we do not understand yet? Be sure to write your opinion in the comments. And that's all for today. Rate the video if you like it.
All right. So hopefully you like that. Kind of amazing, actually, like the situation there. That's not the first time we've heard that. That's one reason why those scientists are talking, anytime you have two twins like that, you keep them as close together. Same can be gone for a mother, why having a mom have a natural birth is so important, if it's possible, because of that connection of that baby to the mom is so important. Now, why? Is there any physical thing, magic, that the little twin is sending that way? Yes, there is. That's the most magical part of why we're doing this 1% tribe, why we're teaching this visualization. There's so much more to all of this. In this time, we're all connected, and with that connection, I like what Greg Braden has called it. So we talk about our auras. We have the 7 auras. There's another one, in a sense, that I would like to call, like that he calls the divine matrix. The divine matrix is everything. It's the entire everything that's connected to everything else. And so as you're looking at this divine matrix, how does that play out? And you'll hear me talk about the prayer groups that get together. I don't know if I've ever said this one, but there's a group of prayer warriors. There was like 20 of them, I think. They're really good at like praying over situations. So one time the scientists, they decided to, put money where their mouth is. So they took St. Louis, the areas around St. Louis, I can't remember. One is the highest crime rate in the country at this time. I don't know if it's true now. But what they did was they took, so the highest, it was the murder rate. So there was the highest murder rate in the area. There's several other different rates that they're really high in. And so they took this group of 20 prayer group and went down and put them up in a place and just had them pray to lower that murder rate. Visualize this being a place where murders won't happen, like doing those things. And they're so good at it. Literally, before they got there, the week before, and in the preparation of all this, they went down, and then they were essentially on it where the crime rate went to almost zero. I think it went to zero the month and a half they were there. It ended up going to absolute zero like 2 days in, right? And here's the crazy part. The craziest part of that story, and no one believes it, but it's true. All the other crime rates, percentages, never moved. Think about that. They never moved. It wasn't like this, oh, it's just, total coincidence. Like the one guy that was doing everything bad just moved out of town or something. No, all the other crime rates stayed the exact same for the 2 months they were down there. But the one they were directing their attention to dropped. So to me, that was always one of those fascinating moments. And that's why I believe in the power of what we have with us, with people, with visualization. My first one that, like with this visualization training, before we go into it for ourselves personally, I want you tonight to get on having a partner or somebody that you can talk to saying, you know what, I'm going to try this. One of Mike Dooley's, one of my favorite things that he'd laugh about, he has a brother, and his brother was studying, this visualization thing, and it's being successful for them. So they decided to create a group where they find out what those dreams are of that other person, right? And then you meet them at that place. Here's a good example. Let's say, you've met my brother Ryan. So my brother Ryan, he's, oh man, I've always wanted a Ferrari, right? So you remember that. And then next time you see him, let's say you see him every day, you say, hey, good morning. How was the ride in on the Ferrari? And play it up like it's a real thing. You'd be like, man, that thing just floated in on, like if that is what you want. Now for me, that was never a thing. If you ever see, my buddies always make fun of me. I try to get the oldest car available, but for, like for me, it would be maybe, how is your stone patio overlooking the corn stalks in your backyard? I was like, okay, that could get me talking about that, right? So I'd be like, oh, it's the most beautiful sunset. And those are the things that we want to start with in this visualization training. The next one we'll go through and how to do it, in a couple weeks from now. But for the most part, find that person, get the conversation going about what we're talking about tonight. One of the things we always do is we don't talk about it. Like some of you that are out here tonight, if you see me in the office, let's talk about it so that I know every time you come in, I want to know that visualization you want me to set you up for, right? So, and don't start with something difficult. That's the other thing on visualization and empowering yourself with this idea of seeing it first. Many times when we pray for something, that doesn't mean we have essentially, that means we don't have it, right? That means we're coming from a place of lack. And we don't want to do, we get everything. We should be gratitude for everything. So all of our ways about this visualization will be total gratitude about everything around you. And then those things that you want, you already got them. Just say it in your head, visualize that whole thing. I always have a personal story on this one as well. When I first went through the trainings with Mike Dooley, we were, Rachel, my wife Rachel and I were, we're trying to grow this business. And I just remember I'm going through this. I'm like, man, it'd be cool. We were doing really well, and we were like, okay, our office is kind of tiny, but it's working. Everything else is good. So I just never forget that. Like this time, and this is why I'm so passionate about it. I decided I was going to visualize one night for maybe a bigger office. But here's the thing. I didn't care if I got it. Right. So it's not one of those struggles like when we talk about the subconscious program. I didn't have this subconscious holding me back. So I didn't have any real feelings either way. Right. So I said, all right, I'll just make this nice, beautiful office in my head and it'll be nice. It'll have this flow, those kind of things. But never forget this. A man should be retired. I think he's still working. He's probably about 70, late 70s. He's a commercial realtor. 2 weeks after, it had to be 2 weeks after I started the visualization training, this guy comes in and says, hey, I got a building that's perfect for you guys. And it's down the road. It's not even on the market. And I said, no, I didn't put the visualization to it. I just said, all right, whatever. He's like, literally, it's like 2 doors down. So we actually got to walk from where we were at that time, walk to that location. And when Rachel saw it, she's like, this could be amazing. So, because I did not see it, that part. Right. So I'm stressing about this whole new move and building all this stuff. And then a few days later, it hit me. I go, wait, I just visualized that like 2 weeks ago, that we'd have all this stuff. We'd have all these rooms, all this kind of crazy. So I always say, I could say I'm the biggest proponent of this, but I'd really like this week, because it's kind of a get back into the groove of this 1% tribe week, to start there with these visualizations. I got one other little lesson I want to do, but just remember, because I want to repeat what we said, find a friend, figure out what their dreams are, what your dreams are, and go up to them and say, like, what's your something you wouldn't be attached to? If you don't have it, great. If you do have it, great. Right. So that's why I use a Ferrari. I probably would have a Jaguar with like freaking convertible, something like that. So you say, hey, how was the drive in to work today in that convertible? I bet the top was down, just play along. If you can have a partner in this, it can be really, really helpful. And it can be your loved one and what she wants. They can make a better connection that way. Okay. So one of the other ones I wanted to hit up before we make this crazy. Let me see what I got to do. Oh, we get out of this. Sorry. This is where my computer stuff is not. Computer knowledge is okay. I want to make sure I go over all the different ones. Okay. So the last point I'm going to bring up tonight in our 1% tribe, our 1% is going to be to understand our emotions of the day. Okay. So tonight is going to be about understanding the emotions you're feeling throughout a day. Okay. So what I want you to do is Monday morning, I want to say, how did I feel waking up? How do I feel throughout the day? Those kind of emotions. And I'm going to tell you why in just a second. But the emotions that you have, that my little dude, hopefully you guys caught him. I'll end with my little catcher dude. Those kind of emotions coming into whatever situation you're in are not just emotions. We have to start understanding that emotions are a force like gravity. There's no difference. Emotions that you feel are forces like what gravity is on your body. Think about that. So the weight of a heavy emotion is going to make you heavy, right? And the weight of a light emotion, laughing, is going to lift you up. You feel it. You feel it every time. That's why great videos make you laugh your tail off. And you can give me a 5-year-old playing baseball or softball every day of the week, and I'll just sit there and laugh my butt off. But one of the things that was interesting about Greg Braden's book, and I'll end it with this in this time frame, but when they were looking at this divine matrix. So remember, we're not talking about our auras, right? So we have all those different ones. I think there's 7. Some people say the different auras, the chakras of the body. So the chakras our energy within. We're talking about something bigger even than that. Okay. So this is the connection to all, right? With that little infant, those two twins coming together. You hear about the twin connection all the time and how many studies are out there for those. But you have that little twin. His little brother was dying, and all he had to do is touch him, and he wasn't dying anymore. Doctors didn't do any of that. Doctors didn't know what to do. That was it, right? And this isn't the only story of that. I guarantee it. There's at least 5 I could have chosen, right? Just off of YouTube. Who knows how many actual stories like that there are, right? So one of the things is understanding that emotions are much more than just emotions. They're not just, we've been trained into this emotional thing is just a way to feel. That's it, right? But it's much more than that. So when Greg Braden, so the next story he had to tell was when he went up to the Tibetan monks, which is kind of cool. So I would love to do that. So these Tibetan monks have all these different monasteries around, and he was saying each one specializes in different fields. And so one of my favorite parts of this book, and the book I'm reading, I want to call it the Divine Matrix. I read his books sometimes I think I've read this one twice. But you get a nugget out of each one, and that's why tonight is such a good one. But the Tibetan monks are up there, and this guy he saw that he had like a experienced monk. He's been up there. I got a joke for that, but okay. So anyway, we'll do that at the end. So this Tibetan monk is a very experienced monk, and so he says, what does a Tibetan monk think binds the entire universe together? Like, what is the glue that keeps this all together? Like, how does this whole world and universe work? And he said one word, which is fascinating, which blew my mind when I read it, but it's compassion. Think about that. Compassion is what the Tibetan monk said is the source of energy that binds all the universe together. That makes a lot of sense in a lot of biblical texts, a lot of everything, right? All these connections. We're one big giant body on this earth, and we're trying to communicate constantly with each other. And so I always thought that was fantastic, as we go. So, man, I got a good Lou Holtz joke for you now that I forgot about so there was this Tibetan monk. He was trying to become a actual certified monk. So one of the things they have to do is take 3 years of complete silence, and they get to have 2 words at the end of each year, but they can't speak until the end of that year. So the first year comes by, and this monk comes up to the master monks, and they say, "What are the 2 words you'd like to say to us?" And he goes, "Bad bed." Oh man. So those are those 2 words. So he has to go another year. So he goes another year, and he only can speak 2 words at the last part of this year. So he goes up to the monk masters and says, "What are your 2 words?" And he says, "Bad food." So he goes through his final year of complete silence. You can see he's kind of grumpy, as he's going through his final year. And the master monks finally go, "So, sir, are you finished? What are your final 2 words?" He goes, "I quit." And the master monks look at each other and go, "Man, he's not done anything but complain since he's been here." So just let you guys know that. That was funny. I find myself funny. You may not, but I'm going to end it with hopefully I can do this because my catcher was awesome. So I'm going to try to leave you with this one last little bit. Hopefully we got something out of this tonight, because you know how I am. Screen share. We'll get into there. And let me get this one out of the way. There it is. All right, let's go back to, let's start. All right, guys. Well, have a great night after this. Just remember this tomorrow morning. Please do it. One more time, because I can't stop this thing. All right, guys. Have a good night. Take it easy.